They thought the terrace would swallow me whole. Sun on white columns, crystal glittering like it had something to say, every polite laugh slicing thin as paper. I walked in, knowing the choreography. My father's frown, my mother's pearls, my sister's smirk, and still the old shame rose like tidewater. I tell myself I'm armored navy blazer, tailored and clean, Italian loafers whispering across marble, yet when heads tilt and whispers flick toward my jeans, it's my 7-year-old heartbeat I hear, fast and small as if it wants to run. Charleston has a way of performing tradition like a hymn, and my family has always been its choir. Victor Diaz, upright and exacting, made of linen, rules, and weathered golf trophies. Lydia, all cream knits and careful judgment disguised as concern. Celeste, catalog perfect, her smile calibrated to the room. They called this catching up, and I dressed accordingly, but the moment my father says, "Opal, did you forget this is a respectable establishment?" I'm back on that childhood staircase, checking if my shoes are the reason adults stop talking. "I'm not sure what you mean," I say evenly, and my mother's sigh cuts the morning with that familiar, practiced disappointment. "Really, Opal jeans?" "We said Brookhaven, they're Armani," I answer, and she answers faster. "They're denim." Celeste leans in with that bright pity that stings more than cruelty. "You look like staff," she murmurs, and somewhere past the railing a stranger's gaze touches my cheek like a brand. My father raises a hand, summoning a waitress the way a judge calls a recess. "Excuse me," he announces to the terrace and to the idea of me. "Could you check the VIP area?" Someone doesn't appear to belong. Silverware stills. A gull cries somewhere above the harbor like the city itself is entertained. "If I'm embarrassing you," I say, and my voice sounds like I polished it for this, "I can leave. I can feel him savor the surrender that hasn't happened yet." "Good," he answers, as if mercy is for people who ironed differently. I turn because habits are bones. You can't see them, but they hold the shape. My shoes find the marble seam to the foyer, and then a hand, light and certain, rests at my elbow. "Miss Diaz," she says softly, and the name on her badge is Mrs. Henderson. Her voice steadies me like a straightened picture frame. "You once helped me pay for my husband's medicine when insurance refused. You didn't ask for anything. Don't let them shame you. Some of us see everything that happens here. The world knocks back into place. My spine finds its height. Thank you," I whisper. And it's not a thank you. It's a vow. I return to the table and sit like the chair belongs to my bones. I lift the napkin as if ceremony were mine to conduct. "I'll stay for brunch," I say, and the plates around us seem brighter for a breath. Mother's pearls go still against her throat. Celeste's mouth parts. My father drums his fingers the same rhythm he used to conduct my inadequacy across report cards and holidays. "This is unacceptable," he declares, turning the club into a courtroom. 30 years, and I have never seen such disrespect for standards. "Victor, speak with management," my mother urges, and standards rolls off her tongue like scripture. He flags a floor manager, Kendra Holt, mid-40s, poised professional who arrives with a notebook's composure. He gestures at me without seeing me. "This girl shouldn't be here. Call the owner." Celeste folds her arms with a smile that feels like a door closing. Someone's about to be escorted out. She breathes, the phrase perfumed for the crowd. Kendra's face doesn't move. "I'll get Ms. Sloan, our executive director," she says, and the terrace tilts toward the promise of spectacle. I keep my hands folded in my lap, palms cool, pulse steadying into something I recognize, not fear, but refusal. Nora Sloan appears moments later with an assistant and a presence that recalibrates the room. Burgundy suit, clipped stride, eyes that take in everything. "Good morning," she says, and the hush is almost kind. I understand there's a situation. The owner is on site. My father straightens like a man about to shake an old friend's hand. Then get the owner. He commands, certain the story is his to close. Nora looks at me, and there's something like respect in the glance. I've already spoken with the owner, she says, then pauses, the room waiting for the verdict as sunlight slides across crystal, and the harbor holds its breath. I feel the truth gather in my chest like a storm paring its first lightning to a single dark cloud, ready to split the air. Nora lets the silence stretch just long enough for the terrace to lean closer, and then she says it cleanly, like a bell. Miss Diaz is the legal owner of Brookhaven. For an instant, the world is only the ring of silver against China as my mother drops her fork. Celeste's mouth forms that perfect O she uses in photographs. My father freezes mid-gesture, a statue of certainty discovering he has joints. I meet Nora's gaze and nod once, as if confirming the weather. Perhaps we should continue in your office, I suggest, and the murmurs rise like a soft wind as we stand. We walk past portraits of Charleston names that used to feel like iron gates and now feel like paintings on a wall. In Nora's office, light pools over a conference table already dressed in documents. Her assistant, Maggie, opens a leather portfolio with the quiet confidence of someone who lives in the details. My father refuses the chair as if sitting would concede ground. I demand an explanation, he says, and Maggie answers by placing the first page in front of him. Brookhaven Heritage Club was acquired 9 months ago, Nora explains, her voice even as a distressed property. The purchase price was $16.4 million, executed by Diaz Leisure Holdings, LLC, with Miss Opal Diaz as managing partner. Current capital improvements total $6.7 million. My mother whispers impossible like a prayer that has lost its church. Celeste circles, searching for a seam in the truth. You did this to humiliate us, she accuses, and I hear the old script creak. I bought a failing asset. I reply, calm as rainfall because it was a good investment. How did you afford this? My father insists, as though money only exists if he recognizes it. My company sold last year, I tell him, the sentence landing with all the weight of their not knowing. They never asked. Now they cannot believe. I turn to Nora. What do the bylaws say about conduct that harms the club's reputation? She steps forward, professional as a metronome. Public behavior that creates disturbances or embarrasses other members is grounds for immediate suspension pending committee review. The words float like a life raft in a room where only I intend to use it. My father laughs without humor. We are founding members. I look at him and finally see the shape of his power, borrowed, conditional, loud. You are members who violated the rules, I answer. And a quiet I have never known inside my own voice settles in my chest. Mrs. Henderson, I say now when she appears in the doorway, hands folded, eyes steady. Would you provide a statement? She nods. I watched Mr. and Mrs. Diaz attempt to have their daughter removed from the terrace while other guests looked on. She says, each word a small stone laid in a straight path. Their conduct embarrassed staff and members. Nora's radio crackles once. 2 security officers arrive. Posture, respectful. Presence, undeniable. Issue a 30-day interim suspension for Victor and Lydia Diaz, and for Ms. Renner, I instruct, and Maggie is already printing the notices. My mother begins to cry in the exact register that used to pull me like a tether. You can't do this to your family, she pleads, and I feel the sentence pass through me without finding purchase. I'm doing it for the club, I say softly, and for the people who work here. The officers wait, giving dignity a chance to dress itself. My father buttons his jacket with shaking fingers, trying to resurrect a courtroom that is closed for the day. "You'll regret this," he tells me, and I think of every time I swallowed myself small to save his comfort. "No," I answer. "I've regretted other things long enough." They leave, papers in hand, outrage clattering behind them like dropped cutlery. The door closes. For a long moment, no one speaks. The antique clock on the credenza marks the air into softer pieces. Mrs. Henderson brings coffee, the porcelain warm against the thin bruises shame once left on my palms. Outside the window, the lawn glows. The harbor carries small boats like possibilities. I wrap my fingers around the cup and let the heat climb my wrists. The shape of my life loosens, shifts, clicks into a new alignment. That night, at 11:42 p.m., my phone starts its ritual calls from my mother, texts from Celeste, an email from my father with legal notice flexing in the subject line, and the old knot stirs. Surprised to find less room, I watch the blue notification light pulse like a tiny, furious lighthouse, pick up the phone, and feel the hinge of an old habit resisting. Then I press the power button until the screen goes dark and the room breathes with me, quiet and full. In that silence, something is finally born that I do not intend to abandon. Morning light paints my ceiling gold when I hear the knock, 3 measured raps. Confident, familiar. It's 8:15 a.m. and Amara Ramirez steps inside, her charcoal suit still crisp despite the Charleston humidity, my attorney, my anchor. She sets her leather portfolio on the kitchen counter beside the steaming coffee pot I prepared out of habit. "Black?" I ask. She nods. "No wasted words. I've reviewed everything," she says, flipping open her folder. "Your actions comply fully with the Brookhaven bylaws and South Carolina law. They have no standing to challenge the suspension." The air in my chest releases slowly. For days. I hadn't realized I'd been holding it hostage. "My father has influential friends," I remind her, as if the ghosts of his business dinners could still rewrite the rules. Amara doesn't blink. Friends can't overrule evidence. And you have everything documented: witness statements, surveillance footage, internal reports. She slides a single document toward me, her manicured nail tapping the header. "You did everything by the book, Opal." That's what terrifies them. I sip my coffee, letting the words settle. "Then this isn't about humiliation," I murmur. "It's about consequences." She gives the faintest smile. "Exactly." That afternoon, my phone vibrates again. Nora Sloane's name lights the screen. "Your father's been busy," she says without preamble. "He contacted 3 board members directly, tried to rally support." I press a palm against the cool glass of my office window, staring at the harbor below. And discovered, most don't know him personally. 2 asked why a suspended member was interfering in an active disciplinary review. I can hear the quiet satisfaction in her voice. For years, he was the name everyone whispered with admiration or fear. Now, he's a cautionary tale about entitlement. Has he threatened anyone, I ask? Not directly, Nora says. But Maggie overheard him in the parking lot talking about incompetent management and his connections in Colombia. I sigh. Same old playbook pressure, intimidation, control. It's almost comforting in its predictability. Almost. A text from Celeste flashes across my synced laptop screen. "Marshall refuses to get involved. Says you went too far this time. Hope you're happy. Marshall, her husband. The family's unofficial fixer. The man who once told me at Thanksgiving that real success required pedigree." I close the message without replying. Nora adds quietly, "Your mother's been calling around. Her charity circles suddenly developed scheduling conflicts. Yesterday, the Harrington-Wilson luncheon was mysteriously postponed." I picture her sitting at the vanity in her cream-colored suite, phone in hand, waiting for someone to return her call. Social exile, I say softly. A fate worse than honesty. Nora's tone is gentle. Actions have ripples. Opal. But people notice who's finally steering the tide. 2 weeks pass. The club hums with new energy. Staff greet me with nods that mean more than pleasantries. They aren't afraid anymore. Even Mrs. Henderson seems lighter, her smile quick and unguarded. The lounge feels different. She tells me one morning, pouring my water, cleaner somehow. People talk instead of whisper. I look around at the sunlight pouring through the windows, the chatter of members actually thanking the servers, the faint scent of fresh linen replacing old tension. Does it bother anyone that I suspended my own family, I ask? Mrs. Henderson shakes her head firmly. Quite the opposite. It proves no one's above the rules, even the owner. Later, as I step onto the terrace, a retired judge stops me near the railing. "Miss Diaz," he says, lifting his glass. It's about time someone remembered what this place was founded for: community, not pedigree. I thank him, humbled by the simplicity of his approval. I glance toward the far table where sunlight reflects off the harbor like scattered diamonds. This is the same spot where my father tried to erase me. Now it feels like mine. That evening, the envelope arrives cream stationery embossed with the Brookhaven seal. Inside, the committee's verdict: permanent membership revocation for Victor and Lydia Diaz, termination of associate status for Celeste Renner, 30-day appeal window. My signature glides across the confirmation line without hesitation. The ink feels final, yet clean, like a wound finally cauterized. When I drive home that night, Charleston glows in the twilight antebellum porches, oak shadows, slow tides curling against stone. They say the city worships tradition, but I think it also understands rebirth. You can't live by the tide forever. Sometimes you have to command the current. The glass elevator hums softly as it ascends, Charleston Harbor unfolding below like a living postcard, boats slicing through silver water, gulls hanging in the heat. Usually. I love this view. Today. It feels like the calm before a storm I already know by name. When the doors slide open, Celeste is pacing my reception area, her peach blouse wrinkled, her eyes swollen and red-rimmed. My sister, the eternal portrait of perfection, now unpolished, untethered. For a moment, I almost don't recognize her. "You're early," I say, stepping out. She turns sharply, voice cracking. "This couldn't wait. You have to stop this." "Opal." Her words tumble out like she's been holding her breath for days. My assistant, Danny, glances at me, uncertain. I nod toward my office. "Let's talk privately." She follows, collapsing into the leather chair opposite my desk. I stay standing, the distance between us deliberate. "Mom hasn't left the house in weeks," she blurts, wiping her eyes. "Dad's blood pressure is through the roof. The doctor added another medication yesterday." I fold my arms. "That's unfortunate." Celeste's expression shifts from pleading to disbelief. Unfortunate. The Thompsons uninvited them from their anniversary gala. Dad's golf partners won't return his calls. Mom's charity friends told her to take a break until things settle down. "You've destroyed our family's reputation." I meet her gaze. "No, Celeste. They did that themselves." "Is your revenge worth this?" she demands, standing now, her voice rising. "Worth destroying our family name?" The Diaz name means something in this town. Opal. It meant control, I reply evenly, not respect. Her hands tremble. "Do you even hear yourself? After everything they sacrificed for us, what exactly did they sacrifice?" I interrupt. "My peace. My worth." The phone on my desk buzzes. Ignored. Celeste presses on. Desperate. Uncle Robert called me. Aunt Patricia, too. Pastor Williams says forgiveness heals family rifts. I almost laugh. How convenient that everyone finds their conscience when the power shifts. She glares. "You've made your point." You have power now, isn't that enough? Her question lands like a blade between my ribs because, for a split second, I don't know the answer. Is this power or survival justice or something colder? I inhale slowly. I need to take this call, I say, reaching for the phone. She grabs her purse, her movements sharp. Just remember, she warns. Voice trembling. When you're sitting alone in your big, empty club, we're still your family. When the door shuts behind her, the silence swells, thick and familiar. I look at the framed photograph on my bookshelf, our family portrait from when I was 10. Celeste and I in matching dresses. Mother's hand resting on my shoulder like ownership. Father behind us all, perfectly composed. I trace my younger face on the glass with a fingertip, feeling a dull ache of nostalgia mixed with something harder. Was I too harsh? The question lingers that night as I sit on my couch, phone in hand. One call to Celeste could unravel everything: an apology, a concession, a false peace. I hover over her contact and stop. That's how it always was, my guilt patched over their cruelty until the pattern looked like love. I set the phone down and pull open the bottom drawer of my desk. Inside, my old diary waits pages yellowed, ink fading, but memories preserved like pressed flowers. October 12, 2003. Dad said my science project was adequate, even though I won first place. June 8, 2008. Mom told Grandma I finally looked presentable at graduation. Everyone laughed. May 15, 2015, college graduation. Mom said, "At least you finished." Dad complained about missing his golf game. December 21, 2019, told them about venture capital funding. Celeste changed the subject to Marshall's promotion. Dad said, "Playing with computers isn't real work." I closed the diary, my pulse steady. Years of tiny cuts disguised as expectations, of affection rationed like currency. It wasn't rage that drove me to buy Brookhaven. It was the slow, starving hunger for acknowledgement. I whisper into the quiet, "No more." 3 days later, I agree to meet them neutral ground, a private dining room at the Carlton downtown, the kind of place where linen napkins hide family wounds. I arrive first, choosing a seat facing the door. My father enters like a general, my mother trailing behind, Celeste in her wake. He doesn't sit. "This has gone on long enough," he announces. "We're putting an end to this nonsense." "Hello to you too, Father," I say, voice steady. Mother dabs at her eyes. "After everything we've done for you, Opal, the sacrifices, you've always been selfish," Celeste adds, arms crossed tight. "But this is beyond anything." I let their accusations flow around me. Steady as tides, I've already learned to outwait. When they finally pause, breathless, I say, "I accept that this is how you see me." Father frowns, thrown off script. I'm not here to negotiate. I continue quietly. The decision stands. He leans forward, jaw set. "You can't do this to us." "I can," I answer, rising, and I am. Mother's voice trembles. "Where will we go?" Everyone knows what happened. "Charleston has many clubs," I reply, sliding my chair back. "You'll find somewhere that suits your standards." Celeste's voice cracks. "You can't just cut us off." I look at her. The sister I once idolized. Our relationship moving forward will be built on mutual respect, or it won't exist at all. I stand, smoothing my skirt, feeling lighter with every word. Father's face burns red. "You're making a mistake," he warns, as though the world obeys him. "No," I say softly. "I'm correcting one that's gone on far too long." I walk out before they can respond, my steps measured, my pulse calm. For the first time in my life, I'm not walking away from their disapproval. I'm walking toward my freedom. 6 months can change everything, or maybe it just reveals what was always waiting beneath the surface. The Brookhaven Heritage Club no longer feels like the stage where I was humiliated. It's alive now, music spilling from the terrace, laughter blending with the clinking of champagne glasses, soft light reflecting off the harbor like rippled gold. Our annual charity gala is in full bloom. The chandeliers above the ballroom have been replaced, the walls painted a warmer cream, the air filled with something that had been missing here for decades: sincerity. I walk among the guests, the scent of magnolia and ocean salt trailing in from the open doors. Nora finds me by the terrace steps, tablet in hand, eyes bright behind her glasses. Silent auction numbers are impressive, she says. We've already doubled last year's total. I smile, remembering the exhaustion of those early renovation months, the doubts, the whispers that a Diaz couldn't lead this place. The ballroom looks beautiful, I tell her. So do you. She laughs. And the staff, everyone's happier. We had 0 resignations this quarter. That's a first. Her voice fades as I step toward the edge of the terrace. The night air is cool against my skin. This is the same spot where my father once tried to have me escorted out. I can almost see a silhouette in the place where he stood, righteous and certain. But now, instead of shame, I feel peace. A retired judge approaches, lifting his glass. Best gala in 20 years. He says warmly, "You've brought this place back to life." I thank him, humbled. Behind him, Mrs. Henderson appears, now wearing a sleek navy suit with a new badge that reads, Hospitality Director. She looks radiant. "The kitchen staff wanted to thank you for the upgrades," she says softly. "It's made their jobs so much easier. They deserve tools that work," I reply. She studies me for a moment, eyes full of quiet pride. "You've changed this place, Miss Diaz. People feel valued now." Her words touch something deep in me, something that used to ache. "That was the goal," I whisper. She nods, a shared understanding passing between us that needs no explanation. I move through the ballroom, past guests who now greet me with genuine warmth rather than polite evaluation. For the first time, I feel like I belong not because of a name, but because of what I've built. As the band starts to play a slow jazz melody, I slip upstairs to the balcony overlooking Charleston Harbor. The sky glows amber and violet, the horizon blurring into dusk. The tide moves steadily below, steady as breath. From here, the city stretches in all its contradictions, old mansions and modern rooftops, history and hope stitched together by water. I think of my parents, now members of Palmetto Oaks across town, trying to rebuild their standing in a circle that once defined them. Of Celeste, who sends occasional texts, small talk about the weather, the holidays, the kind of messages that tiptoe toward forgiveness without asking for it outright. Maybe one day I'll reply with more than a polite acknowledgement, but tonight, I'm not ready to reopen what peace has already sealed. A young server approaches timidly with a pitcher of water. Her name tag reads, Jennifer. Her hands tremble slightly as she refills my glass. "Everything all right?" I ask. She hesitates, then blurts, "May I ask you something?" "Miss Diaz." I nod toward the empty chair beside me. She sits, careful not to meet my eyes at first. "My family doesn't want me to go to college," she says softly. "They say it's selfish, that I should stay home and take care of my siblings." Her voice quivers the way mine once did when I tried to justify wanting more. I study her face so young, full of a hunger I know well. "Your life belongs to you," I tell her gently. "Not to anyone else's idea of who you should be. Their disappointment is theirs to carry, not yours." She stares at me, eyes wide, as if hearing it for the first time. No one's ever said that to me before. I smile faintly. Someone should have. Then I nod toward the ballroom below. "Nora can tell you about the scholarship program we started. It might help." After she leaves, I stay a while longer, watching the sunset dissolve into darkness. Mrs. Henderson joins me briefly, gazing out at the harbor lights. Justice finally came back around, she murmurs. I shake my head gently. Justice never left. People just forgot what it looks like. She smiles, squeezes my shoulder, and returns inside. Alone again, I sip my water, feeling the quiet satisfaction of something whole. For 31 years, I mistook approval for love, obedience for belonging. I built companies, wealth, and even this club trying to buy a place at a table that was never mine. But I understand now respect isn't granted by pedigree or purchased by success. It's built by choosing what's right, even when that choice costs everything. The harbor wind softens. Music drifts up from below, laughter mingling with the scent of gardenias. I close my eyes and breathe deeply. For the first time, I feel complete not because they finally see me, but because I finally see myself. If this story moved you, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the strength in reclaiming our worth. And tell me in the comments, what does family mean to you when love and respect are no longer the same thing?